Are you dominating your league or are you on a losing streak right now? Either way, we're here to help with our Week 4 fantasy preview. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts, Calvin Timms and Dale Terry, and we're excited. We're going to be going through Week 4 preview. There's some big news that happened in Week 3, but hopefully you guys were here last week and you were able to use some of our big calls that we had last week and win some of your leagues. I chickened out. I wanted to start Marvin Mims last week, but Dale told me not to. He told me we couldn't start him, but yeah, some big calls last week, and hopefully you guys were there to check it out. And we're going to be back here this week breaking down every game on the slate in week number 4. But before we get to that, if you can, follow us over on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it anymore. It's so confusing. You can find me at TDC_Calvin. You can find my co-host at Dynasty_Dale. And you can find the podcast at FF After Dark. And just a quick little intro. If you guys are new to the podcast, thanks for checking us out. If you're one of our returning followers, please subscribe down below. If you're not, just helps us out with all the videos. I wanted to just let you guys know early that starting probably next week, we're going to be shooting for this. I'm going to be coming out with a sports betting podcast. If you guys are interested in gambling and things like that, I'm not a big gambler, but I think that this is a good source to kind of give you a unbiased and good fantasy advice for sports betting, because there's a lot of people out there that just give you takes and it's not actually helping anybody win money except for them, because they're kind of betting against you in some of those cases. So I just want to give you guys some good advice, and I've got some good co-hosts lined up that are going to help me out, and they're going to be able to give you guys some great advice. So make sure you guys check those out when they drop on the channel. We're going to be starting those next week probably, like I said, but stay tuned. We'll give you guys all the details on that. Dale, how we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm very excited for Week 4, and I'm ecstatic that my Dolphins scored 1,000 points against the Broncos last weekend.
Oh my gosh!
I'm actually really bummed that they didn't go for the record. But that's just
it was
me.
disrespectful, Dale. You know what? I always find that argument hilarious, because it's like, what's disrespectful? Letting me put up 70 points. That's disrespectful.
Your it was almost like a video game. It was bad. It was very bad.
Oh my god. It was like college is what it was like.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch. I loved every minute of it, but that's just me.
Yeah, the other teams did not, though, I will say. No, there were some good games last week. Your Dolphins look unstoppable. We'll see if they can continue that this week in our matchup up against the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, there's some fun games, and we're going to get into it. That said, we're going to jump into week number 4 here. We're going to go through all the games, talk about all the players for all the games for fantasy football, who we like, who we don't like, some start sits, stuff like that. We're going to be here for a fun time here today, and we're going to start with Thursday Night Football, so hopefully you guys are checking this out early, but we're going to be going over to a fun game in Thursday night on Amazon Prime. It's going to be the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Now, this game is just chock full of some potential fantasy value. Quarterback-wise, you've got Jared Goff versus Jordan Love. I think both of these guys at this point in time are must-starts. I've seen
100%.
I've seen a lot of people kind of downplaying Jordan Love, saying that, he's not the most accurate or his efficiency isn't that great. Who cares, man? They're 2-1, and Jordan Love has been playing well. He's been playing well for fantasy football. We don't have to overthink everything, guys. Like, we don't. I promise you, it is okay. Jordan Love you can start him, especially against Detroit. It's not the scariest matchup defensively. I like both of these guys. I think they're going to be very good in a one quarterback league or in a super flex. I think both of them are startable. Any disagreement there?
Maybe in a one quarterback, I'm sure I can find other guys, but
we'll talk about it as we go on.
I feel definitely in a super flex. If I had both of these guys on my roster, I would probably starting both of them.
I've been starting Jordan Love in one league for all 3 weeks, and he's been top
and feeling pretty well.
Yeah, he's been top 15 all 3 weeks. So What can you say?
I mean, he's QB4 on the year.
Yeah.
So he's been very consistent. He's averaged about 22 and a half, 23 points a week, which is fantastic for the quarterback position.
Yep. Agreed. Now, running back wise, we're recording this a little bit early. We don't know if Aaron Jones is going to be out there. If he is, I think he's a must start. If he's not, AJ Dillon, I'm out. I don't want to play AJ Dillon still.
I agree. I'm completely out on AJ Dillon. I think we've seen enough, and with Aaron Jones being out the past 2 weeks and not doing anything with it, it was a very. He did play against a good Saints defense, but
Detroit's run defense was really good last week too, though. So I just want to point that out.
It was. So I'm out on AJ Dillon, and I do think if Aaron Jones is there, start him up.
Yep. On the other side, the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs must start every single week. David Montgomery, I don't know if he's playing yet. I did see they signed Zonovan Bam Knight over here. He played more than Craig Reynolds last week, which was kind of odd. But, for me, it's just Jahmyr Gibbs. If not, maybe David Montgomery, but even if David Montgomery's out there, I'm probably waiting a week until he's kind of more healthy, given the injury and everything. So I'm waiting on David Montgomery. I'm only running out Jahmyr Gibbs this week. Concur?
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of waiting to see on Montgomery, and it's when he's back and healthy. I'm starting both of these guys, but until then, I'm just going with Gibbs.
Yep, I'm with you. Wide receiver wise, Amon-Ra, the Sun God, he's a must start.
Fire him up. Yep.
Josh Reynolds is low key startable, especially in this matchup. I do think that Jair Alexander is going to be on Amon-Ra most of the game, and he's a very, very good cornerback. They've had some good matchups in the last couple of years, so I think Josh Reynolds is going to have some sneaky availability in this one. So, I could see him going for 6 for 75 or something like that in this game. So I think he's got a pretty high floor this week. So he's someone that I'm interested in. If in deeper leagues, if you need somebody in your flex, I'm more than willing to start Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm definitely on the Reynolds train, and someone in pretty deep leagues could be Khalif Raymond as well. Like if you're in a 16-man league, a super deep league. I think unfortunately with him, he just doesn't play enough to really get those stats.
Yeah, he's kind of that touchdown or bust kind of guy. So, on the other side, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. Again, we're recording this early, so we don't know if Watson is going to be playing yet. There hasn't been any announcements. I think he's going to be healthy in this one. I'm still I guess I'm okay starting Christian Watson. If he's healthy and he's out there, I'm okay starting him. I'd be interested in starting him over Josh Reynolds personally. I'd probably say Romeo Doubs and Josh Reynolds are about equal in my book. It's very close. It's very close between those two. Do you agree with that?
If Watson starts, I'm starting Watson because I feel he's going to be Jordan Love's favorite target.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
We'll see. Everyone says Romeo Doubs, though. That's the biggest hesitation for me. Is all the reports and rumors are that Romeo Doubs is that number one target for Jordan Love. So we just haven't seen these guys out there together. So I'm just scared in this first week of what to expect. And
I definitely hear that. So if Watson doesn't play, are you starting Doubs or?
I'm okay with that. Yes, actually. Yep. Okay. So, from the pass catching standpoint, if Watson's out, the only guy I'm interested in starting is Romeo Doubs. You go over the tight ends. I'm not interested in Luke Musgrave. Either way,
I'm mildly interested. I think he's been pretty solid, and for how the tight end position is, like he's tight end 10 right now.
Yeah, I get it.
Which is crazy.
It could be
to think
worse.
About.
He's not bad. I'm not going to say that, but
I would say if Watson doesn't play,
Musgraves is more interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then on the flip side, Sam Laporta must start every single week. The dude is just
fire him up. Yes,
he's just good, and he does have like a high floor and a high ceiling, as we saw last week. Yep. But I think the nicest thing about Laporta is his floor is just so safe. So must start player there. It's going to be a fun one. I'm actually excited about this one for one of the primetime games that you could get much worse. So let's go over to another I guess, island game of the London game. The London
Bonjour.
Jaguars are going to play the Atlanta Falcons, Jacksonville Jaguars, I guess, not the London.
I mean, it's basically London at this point.
Basically, they're not getting a new stadium in Jacksonville, so they're going to move to London eventually. But I guess Jacksonville's the home team. I guess I don't. Yep. It's an away game. This one's going to be a nightmare. We'll get into it, I guess. Quarterback-wise, Desmond Ridder, Trevor Lawrence. I guess you're still starting Trevor Lawrence. I think that the Atlanta Falcons on the road.
I'm scared to start Trevor Lawrence.
I'm not.
I mean,
this week
in a one quarterback league, I am in Superflex.
You have to in a Superflex.
Yeah. But in a one quarterback, I think there's better options, and he hasn't played very well.
Yeah, that is also true. I will say, though, this matchup specifically, I'm okay starting him, and I think it's going to be because Atlanta is not used to traveling overseas as much as Jacksonville is. And I get it's different head coaches and everything, but I think that there's like a whole... This is not the GM's first time, the owner's first time. Like, they probably have a pretty good game plan of how to get everybody over there, when to get them over there, all that stuff. So I think the Jaguars are going to be a little bit more prepared this week, and a defense traveling that far, being a little bit more chaotic. I'm okay with Trevor Lawrence. Desmond Ridder, I am not interested in. Both guys from the first game that we talked about over him for sure. Even in a super flex, I guess if you're desperate, but yeah, I'm out on Desmond Ridder this week. Running back wise, Bijan must start. I think he's going to be very good.
Start him up. Yeah. He's going to be fine. And the same with Travis Etienne.
Yep, both these guys
playing very, very well this year.
Yes. Yep. Both of them are studs. Tyler Algier, is he someone that we're interested in?
I think in a deep league, yes, but he's been fairly inconsistent the past couple weeks, and I've been kind of off on him, and he's been playing less and less.
He has been playing less.
Yes.
I don't know if that's something that's going to be sustainable. My guess is it probably is, because you spent the 4th overall pick on Bijan, but there's always that chance that you can go back to the week 1 usage. So just keep that in mind, I guess. But it does seem like Atlanta's trying to get Drake London and Kyle Pitts more involved, but they're just failing. So,
and the problem with that is Desmond Ridder, but that's a whole different conversation for a different day.
And that's what I put out on Twitter the other day, like things that should happen this week, but definitely won't. Like, Atlanta should 100% be sending their first round pick for Kirk Cousins. Like, that should definitely
100%,
be happening.
100%.
Could you imagine Kirk Cousins with this offense? This offensive line has been playing so well. These weapons would explode, man. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, you go over to the wide receivers, Drake London, it's a bad match. Like, it's a good matchup because Jacksonville's been bad defensively, but I'm terrified to start this guy. Him and Pitts, those are the only two pass catchers.
I will say I'm okay with starting Pitts only because he has scored in London before in his first year. They actually played. I think they played the Jags. I think. Yes, they did.
A couple years ago.
It was
that was with Matt Ryan. I remember this. He blew up in that game. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, I'm fine with starting Pitts.
You got to start London because it's.
Yeah, you about have to start London.
It's London and London.
London. But yeah, I'm really scared starting Pitts and London.
I am too. You just got to. I mean, if you have better options, safer options, I would be willing to play them. But it is a good matchup, and there's going to be good weeks by these guys. You got to kind of just man up and be willing to be wrong on them. But yeah, I guess if you have to, you can start them, and I might have to in a couple leagues because I have these guys everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep.
On the other side, we've got Calvin Ridley. I think he's fine. Play him, start him up. Christian Kirk, I think, is interesting this week.
I would rather play Christian Kirk than Calvin Ridley. That's just my
really
opinion.
yeah. Okay.
I feel the past couple of weeks he's been more consistent.
Yeah, that is
And
fair. That is definitely fair.
I feel. I mean, I know Calvin Ridley's been there a couple years. He was there last year, but he was suspended all last year. But
Right.
I feel there's more of a chemistry with Lawrence and Kirk.
Yeah, I mean Ridley has never played with Lawrence until because they traded for him in season last year. So it was after the suspension and all that stuff. So. No, I agree with you. I think there is some definite chemistry there between Kirk and Lawrence, but I think both of these guys are playable this week for sure. Mm-hmm. Like I'd probably play both of these guys over Drake London for sure.
I agree with that.
Jamal Agnew is the other guy. It sounds like Zay Jones is not going to be playing this week.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm only starting those two. I don't. Yeah. I feel the other. I would rather start Evan Ingram.
I agree. Yeah, I think those are the three that I'd be willing to play in this game. Evan Ingram's been kind of sneaky good.
He's been very solid. He's a tight end 4.
Yeah, he's the Doug Peterson tight end, which always has some good value.
Is fantastic. Yes.
Yep.
100%.
All right, let's go over to our next game. Now, if you looked at the thumbnail, this is going to be a little bit different order than what is on the thumbnails because for whatever reason, Google and Sleeper do not have the same 1 p.m. game order. So, thumbnail's a little messed up, but it's all good. We're going to get to all of them anyway. If you don't get to one of the games you saw on the thumbnail, it'll be here tomorrow, so check it out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, comment, subscribe, like, all those things. Yep. Now let's go over to the fun game. This one's going to be a little more interesting. It's going to be
very interesting.
It's going to be Tua and the Dolphins against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. They're in Buffalo this time, so Miami doesn't get their ridiculous sun advantage of.
Oh my
love
God,
that sun dude! Advantage. It's ridiculous, man.
Advantage.
It is you're basically cooking these guys in a fire.
I mean,
it gets a 120 on their sideline. That's a little ridiculous.
Don't play in Miami.
They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice.
I know.
But both these quarterbacks, I think, are must start. The Buffalo 100%. Defense is good, but I mean, the way Tua's been playing and this offense is just disgusting. Running back wise, James Cook for the Bills. You can run on Miami.
I'm fine with playing James Cook. He's been very consistent. He's been getting the ball. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with playing him just about any week at this point.
Are you more interested in James Cook or Tyler Algier?
James Cook, because I know he's going to get more touches.
Fair.
In more meaningful.
Now the flip side, though, are we starting both Achane? Devin Achane. That's the official pronunciation. It's going to take me a while to get used to that.
Sure.
And Raheem Mostert. Both of them, I think they had 8 touchdowns last week.
They exploded. And,
Denver's run defense just imploded on itself.
I mean, Achane, or however you pronounce his name.
Achane.
Achane. He's running back 6 right now. But that's only with.
But you got 50 points in a week. It helps, right?
It's wild. I'm kind of out on Devon there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start. I am gonna start Raheem Mostert.
I agree. I actually kind of lean this way as well.
I feel very comfortable with him, and he's been more consistent with everything. So
Buffalo's run defense has been good, so I just want to point that out. Except for the one random 80-yard Breece Hall bust off run.
Yeah. And I do know that Mike McDaniel is very good at scheming run plays.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too concerned about it's a yards per carry. I'm more concerned about the targets that Mostert's going to get.
Yeah, I agree. So, I'm with you. I think that this is going to be a more competitive game too. That they're not going to be able to just run the clock out. You know what I mean? 100%. So, okay. So here's a question: Achane or Cook? Achane or Cook?
Yeah, I would take Cook.
I think I'd take Achane Achane. Dude, this is gonna take me forever to get used to.
Devon. Just call him Devon.
Achane, I think I would take him over Cook, and just because of the scheme that Mike McDaniel can do. So, but I don't blame anybody for taking James Cook over Devon here. So, let's go to the receivers. I think for the most part, they're all pretty much must starts. Tyreek. Jalen Waddle, if he's healthy and he's not in concussion protocol, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, start them all.
Yep. Yeah. I'm starting those 4. I'm not starting anybody else. I don't even care if Waddle's not playing. I'm not starting any other wide receiver.
Fair enough.
Because I think they only got. I think there was 1 or 2 players that got like 2 receptions and that was it.
Yeah, so, it was such a run-heavy scheme and everything. I do think with this being more of a pass-heavy game, I think that like Craycraft or Barrios could have a couple more targets in this one, but I don't think you're going to like them for fantasy very much. Like I'd rather run Josh Reynolds than all of them, so I'd start these 4, but after that I'm going to guys like Romeo Doubs or Josh Reynolds or somebody in that tier
100%,
right there.
100%. So
tight end wise, Dalton Kincaid,
I'm not starting any of them.
Okay.
I'm more wait and see on these guys. I would much rather start like a Luke Musgrave.
All right, fair enough. Kincaid, he's been okay. He's not been great. He's not been what people kind of wanted him to be. He's not been Sam Laporta. My tight end one. My tight end one. I just want to. Hey, and by the way, once we get to Denver, I'll save it for Denver. But I got some humble pie that I got to serve you. On that. Wait. But no, Dalton Kincaid, he's just not been what everyone kind of wanted. Sam Laporta has been what everyone thought Dalton Kincaid was going to be, quite legitimately. So maybe he can open that up as the weeks go by, but right now we're still kind of waiting to see. So I'm with you there. Anybody else you want to talk about in this game, or you want to go to the next one?
Let's go ahead and go to the 0-3 matchup of the day.
Ooh, all the 0-3 matchups play this weekend. It's going to be glorious.
Yes, it's going to be beautiful.
Oh, so we got Minnesota Vikings against the Carolina Panthers. Who do you think is going to win this one, first off?
I think Minnesota is going to crush the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't think the Panthers have a chance. I think Andy Dalton gives them a better chance to win, in all honesty.
I agree.
Especially with how Bryce Young has been playing, and I think he has a ankle injury.
Yes.
And it's the ankle.
Dude,
so
I don't even want to make the jokes, but it's like so easy, dude. It's so easy.
Well, he's injured. They're not playing well. I think
he's injured.
Would be best
no
served
kidding.
To not start. So
go figure. The 5'9" quarterback is injured already in week 2.
He's 5'10". Hello.
He's 5'9.5", but whatever.
Anyways, we are starting Kirk Cousins.
Are you starting Andy Dalton? Andy Dalton's been low key interesting.
He's been okay.
In a super flex, are you willing to start Andy Dalton? Not in a one quarterback, in a super flex.
If I had to, I think.
Would you rather start Desmond Ridder or Andy Dalton?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Mm-hmm. I'd rather start Ridder, personally. I think he's got the rushing upside, but it's close. It's very close.
I would rather start Ridder. Yeah. I mean, the Vikings can't stop anybody, so what's the point? But,
Agreed.
Still.
I agree. Running back wise, are you willing to start? I mean, Sanders is fine. This Minnesota defense is not that good, so Miles Sanders is fine. Chuba Hubbard, I think, has a little bit of a sneaky kind of upside this week, a high floor.
I'm only willing to start Sanders in my flex. I think if you have him as a RB2,
I think he's going to be solid. I could see him being like top 15. I'm
just kind of out on this whole Panthers team.
I think with Andy Dalton, it's fine. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It moves the ball.
I believe my big question is: are you going to start Cam Akers?
No, not until we see it.
Okay.
Not until we see it. I do think that
I get it.
The way that Alexander Madison has played, and I feel bad for the man, the human being, but dude, he is just giving Cam Akers his job. It's like
he's playing pretty bad.
I think he's in his own head at this point in time, and it's
he has to be.
It's like you remember the best analogy that I have for this is when the Browns drafted Baker Mayfield, and they said Tyrod Taylor is going to be the starter for the first 3 weeks. And Tyrod, in week 1 he was great, he was really good, and then in week 2 the murmurs started rumbling of when's Baker going to get out there though? When's Baker? And you saw a little bit of slippage from Tyrod in week 2, and then week 3 was that game where he just played terribly. Then he got injured in that game, and he was just completely in his own head. And it's just, you could see him just devolve on the field, and you're just like, oh, I feel so bad for you, but I'm excited to see this other guy. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with Minnesota. So I want to see Akers on the field before I'm willing to play him, but I do think that Alexander Mattison is just teeing him up. This is a good matchup, so I think that if you wanted to take a stab on Akers, I don't blame you, but it's kind of like Kendrick Miller last week, in my opinion. So
yeah, agreed.
All right, wide receiver wise, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, I think are both fine to start. TJ Hawkinson, start them. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers side a little bit more in depth here. Hayden Hurst for the tight end, I think he's low-key playable.
Agreed
I think DJ Chark is playable.
In deeper leagues, I think
he's startable in non-deeper leagues. I think that he's going to be good.
I'm really liking Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen's also very startable. Yep.
Yes, I would rather start him of the pass catchers for the Panthers. I want to start Adam Thielen.
I'd rather start DJ Chark. DJ Chark was wide receiver 14 last week.
I hear that.
I think Adam Thielen's going to get more targets. So if you're in a PPR league, Thielen has a little bit higher of a floor, but DJ Chark, man, he just gets those deeper targets, and I think Andy Dalton's willing to kind of push the ball. And I don't think Minnesota's pass rush is going to be that scary that you're going to have to get the ball out that quickly. You know what I mean? So they're going to have time to develop a few more of those deeper shots that DJ Chark's going to be able to take advantage of. But I think both are playable for sure. Like, I'd start both of these guys over Josh Reynolds, for example, that we've kind of been talking about.
That's fair. No, I definitely see that.
I'd start both of them over Drake London, which feels bad. It feels bad.
I would start at Thielen. I think Chark is going to be fine, but I think if Mingo plays, I think that's going to add somebody else in the mix.
Yeah, potentially.
And is playing more frequently, like he did play
Sunday, potentially.
But
I think with Andy Dalton, I think Mingo with Andy Dalton is not going to really become a thing because Andy Dalton just kind of never goes to rookies that much until he has to. But I can see that argument, so we'll see how that kind of breaks down. But I think DJ Chark is a good start. You can take that for what it's worth. Let's go to the other tank off bowl, the Caleb Williams bowl. Oh gosh!
Don't get me started.
It's Caleb Williams. Anyway, we're gonna go to the Denver Broncos 0-3. The Denver Broncos at least have been looking decent. They just have gotten some bad breaks. Chicago does not look good, and they're also 0-3.
It's a problem with both of these teams is that their defenses are terrible.
Yeah. And at least Denver's offensive line is holding up. You know,
and that's been the biggest problem with Chicago. Is that
it's bad, dude, and play calling sucks.
Coach, and their play calling's horrible, and they just need to implode that entire franchise.
They just need to
move it from Chicago.
They need to fire Matt Eberflus, and I hate firing coaches and Luke Getsy, but he'd be with
Getsy.
it.
I'm fine with keeping Eberflus for like 2 more weeks.
No,
but like they need to get rid of
you cannot. He's a defensive head coach. I put this on Twitter, and this is like
it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
It's one of my most popular tweets for the last couple of weeks, but he's a defensive-minded head coach with the worst defense in the NFL. It's like, what are we doing here, man?
Yes,
you do nothing to help Justin Fields. You brought in a coaching staff that is unexperienced.
Brand new.
It's just
and they don't know what they're doing,
and it's bad. It's really bad.
They've already ruined him.
They've ruined Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields with Chicago is never going to happen, unfortunately. It's not saying Justin Fields is not going to be something somewhere else, but with Chicago, he's done.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think he needs to get out of Chicago as quick as he can, and I think he already knows that.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's kind of he's mentally just prepping, but
checked out. He's just checked out because he keeps getting hit so much, and they're not
crazy.
Designing plays for
it's bad.
It's a joke what they've done.
But all right, so for fantasy wise though, I think both quarterbacks are startable. I like both of these guys. These defenses are terrible. Denver's run defense is a joke, and Justin Fields. Last week we knew it was going to be a little bit of a tougher matchup. We thought he was going to be able to create a little bit more, but Kansas City's defense is playing out of their minds early this year. It is nuts. And with that bad of an offensive line, their pass rush, their blitz, Spagnuolo's just constant blitzing that he does against these inexperienced quarterbacks. It worked last week, so Justin Fields was never able to get going because that offensive line was just terrible. But in this one, I do think that he's going to have a higher rushing floor, so I think that he's more than playable this week. This is the one. This is the kind of matchup you're looking forward to with Justin Fields. On the flip side, Russell Wilson's been playing extremely well. It's gone unnoticed because they're 0-3, but he's been playing really, really well the last couple weeks. You know, he's not back to Seattle like Hall of Fame caliber Russ, but he's been much, much better. So I think both quarterbacks are playable. You agree with that?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm starting both these guys over like Jordan Love, for example.
Yep.
I'm starting both of them over Trevor Lawrence. This week.
100%. Yep. 100%.
Running back wise, I'm not starting anybody for Chicago. Although Khalil Herbert's kind of interesting.
I was going to go with
Roschon.
Roschon Johnson. Yes.
It's interesting. It's not.
Yes. I feel better if I'm in a pinch, I'm starting Rojo over Herbert. But that's
Cook.
Only in a pinch. I would rather have James Cook.
Okay. On the flip side, Samaje Perine and Javonte, both startable. Javonte has been looking a lot better. He's starting to get healthy.
Yes,
I like him in this matchup.
Yeah, I would feel. Yeah, I'm more comfortable with Javonte. I'm not really sure how I feel about Perine yet. I don't really know what his role is.
It's kind of the just change of pace guy, but I think that
I get that, but
potentially playable just because how bad Chicago's defense is. But all right, let's get to the wide receivers, and this is where I'm going to gloat a little bit here. I've got to say that preseason rankings on these rookies, I was extremely high on Marvin Mims. I had him above Zay Flowers, and then, you pressured me into putting Zay Flowers above Marvin Mims, and now I just got to say that he's been better through 3 weeks. Just pointing that out there. But
and that's fine. It's through 3 weeks.
I know. He's been playing so good, man.
He really has. And I think my worry though is that he's not going to get enough target share, and he's not going to be on the field enough to.
I think
really
he's going to. Like he's ticking up. He's ticking up. You cannot be playing Brandon Johnson over him that much. Like it's just it's waste.
And he's only played a quarter of the snaps.
I know, and he's freaking balling.
He needs to
dude.
be on he needs to be on the field.
I actually think that in redraft leagues, Marvin Mims is going to be very good this year. And the reason why is if you go back to Sean Payton with the Saints, right? He drafted Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks was good his rookie year for Sean Payton. Sean Payton also drafted Michael Thomas, who was good as a rookie for them back when he drafted him. So I think that Marvin Mims, I think he's got a pretty high floor for the rest of the season, but people are going to constantly be looking at the snap share and say, oh, it's unsustainable. But I think it's a little bit more sustainable than people think. So he's definitely startable. I think he's a startable player, especially in this matchup.
I think I'm still a little hesitant with just his usage so far. Like I kind of want to see it first.
Fair. Courtland Sutton, he's startable.
Wait and see on him.
Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, both of them. I think
I would. Yeah, I would say both of them right now. Yes.
I'm okay starting DJ Moore on the other side.
And that's it. I don't feel comfortable starting anybody else.
I'm okay starting Cole Kmet if you have to. That's it. That's the only other player that I'm willing to start in this game.
Yeah. I don't want to even touch Claypool. I don't want to get near Darnell Mooney.
Nope. Bayless Jones.
No, thank you.
I'm willing to start all 3 receivers for Denver. You can be hesitant on Mims. I understand that argument 100%. I'm willing to start Kmet and DJ Moore. So, all right, let's jump on to the next game. That was a lot of grossness for that last one.
Yes, it was.
We're going to take the AFC North battle here. We're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cleveland Browns. Both teams are 2-1. Cleveland's defense is destroying. I think Cleveland wins this game. Cleveland's legit. At home.
I think it's going to be a defensive matchup, and it's probably going to end up being like 10-7.
I don't know, man. I don't think Baltimore's defense has been that good. It's been okay.
I feel Baltimore as a whole has not been good this whole year.
Correct.
With this cupcake schedule they've had. I mean, yes, they had Cincinnati, but
they lost to the Colts without Anthony Richardson, like
that was a fluky game, and there was a lot of missed calls.
I get it, but they still lost.
But still, I agree. I hear you. Yeah.
That said, is Lamar Jackson startable? Dude, if there's ever a matchup that I'm going to bench Lamar Jackson because
it would be this one.
It would be this one. And
I feel there are better quarterbacks, but I feel with the price you probably paid for Lamar,
you feel like you have to, but man, sometimes you got to pivot. You got to pivot. Like I'm starting Jared Goff, and I'm starting both Jared Goff and Jordan Love over Lamar Jackson this week.
Yeah. Would you rather start Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson?
Deshaun, 100%. Deshaun's looking better, man. Like I know
he threw a pass backwards last week.
It doesn't matter. It's called a pitch.
It's called a fumble, but that's beside the point.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Baltimore's defense has been good, but it's not been elite. It's not the elite Baltimore defense of years past. So I'm willing to start Deshaun Watson in this one. Running back wise, I think that Jerome Ford is playable.
I was surprised how well he played last. I mean, his
touchdowns are
bad.
His touchdowns are keeping him afloat. Without the touchdowns, it's not. I don't think he's that good, man. Personally, but I think this is a good matchup for him. So you can start him if you need to.
Are we starting a running back for Baltimore at all?
No, at your own peril. Like if you have to.
I mean, you aren't going to start Melvin Gordon.
No, I'm out. No running. This defense is too legit, man.
I know. I agree with that. Are we starting any pass catchers for Baltimore?
Zay Flowers is fun.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like I'm waiting to see on Bateman, Odell Beckham.
Bateman got injured again, and it's like I feel so bad for the guy, dude. I just want him to be good, but I think I might have to eat the L on that one. He's not been able to do it. He's just
injury prone.
Yep.
Yeah. He's just injury prone, and I'm not starting Odell. I mean,
Odell got banged up last week too. I think he's gonna miss some time. So, but yeah, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, check out. I think Nelson Aguilar is actually kind of low key interesting.
Is interesting. I was about to say him too. I mean, I think
I'd rather start Josh Reynolds over Nelson Aguilar for reference.
In this matchup, yes.
Yeah. On the flip side, Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper, I think, are both playable. David Njoku is playable. If you need be, he's in the Musgrave tier of guys for me.
I would rather start Musgrave. I think there's more.
I get that. I get that.
I'm kind of out on Njoku.
I get that. I think that Njoku's. There's worse guys to start out there with the tight end position.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I kind of feel that David Njoku was Kyle Pitts before Kyle Pitts was Kyle Pitts.
That in a way, OJ Howard, David Njoku, all those guys.
Yeah. All these athletic freak tight ends that don't
Jonnu Smith, who's Kyle Pitts' teammate.
Jonnu Smith was not as athletic as those guys.
That's fair. So, one last question for you: is Isaiah likely startable in this game?
Likely not. No.
Likely not. I think he could be if Bateman is injured. If Bateman is injured and OBJ is out, he gets a little bit more interesting.
I would rather have Nelson Aguilar.
Fair. Okay. I'm just saying, given the tight end position, if you don't have one of those top guys, you could take a swing at Isaiah Likely. Like
you could take a swing.
Here's a guy we haven't talked about yet. We're going to talk about him in a minute or two. Actually, we're going to talk about him tomorrow. Donald Parham or Isaiah Likely?
Parham
against the Raiders? Yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right, fair enough. That's it for this one. Let's get out of here. This one, some of these are easy, Like we said at the top.
It is.
Fantasy football doesn't always have to be that hard, guys. Like it doesn't have to be that hard. So we got two more left here today. Houston, Pittsburgh. Steelers go to Houston to play the 1-2 Houston Texans. 2-1 for Pittsburgh. Dude, I want to call this for Houston. I think Houston's going to win this. I think they're going to win, man. I just have a feeling.
Is it because Pittsburgh's offense is so inept?
Yes. 100%. I think that their offense is so bad that Houston's going to be okay in this game, and I think that
I feel their I feel that their defense is good enough to win them this game. I think it's going
I
to be
agree.
really close.
I agree that their defense is good enough, but I think that Stroud has been playing very, very well through
He's
3
been playing
weeks.
very well. I agree.
Like Jacksonville, that was probably the weakest defense, but he played well against some other tough matchups before that. So I forget exactly who he played.
It was Baltimore week 1, which they were
a good defense, and he still was competent in that game.
Yeah, and then they played Indy, and then he played Indy the week before. So,
like I compare this a little bit more to Indy. Personally, like
and with that, like I mean, he scored 21 points on Indy. So I mean, in a super flex, well,
in a super flex must start.
I actually have this predicament where I have Tua, Russell Wilson, and Stroud.
Oh, sorry, Stroud, you're getting benched.
That's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at. And it's been where I'm at all year. But that could be something some managers are having to deal with, is where you have 3 or 2 other people, but like Stroud's your third guy, and he's playing really well. But
if he's your second guy, I think he's playable. But this might be a hot take, and maybe I don't know if I fully believe this or not, but I lean towards playing CJ Stroud over Lamar Jackson.
I think I would play Lamar Jackson only because of his rushing prowess. That's what's going to save him.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We will see
against Cleveland.
Houston's defense, or Houston, CJ Stroud has been so freaking good so far. So, Kenny Pickett, I would rather not. I'd rather start Desmond Ridder than Kenny Pickett.
That was a name I was thinking. Like I'd rather start Ridder than Pickett. I don't want anything. And with this backfield, are we trusting Najee Harris? Because
I'm okay starting Najee. I'm okay starting both of them. I guess
both of them.
It could be worse.
I feel gross starting both of them. I feel pretty gross.
You know what's crazy? I mean, I was talking to my buddy about this. Like Najee, it feels like Jalen Warren has been getting the ball so much more than Najee. Najee's out-touching Jalen Warren heavily still. And he's out-producing him as well. Like, Jalen Warren's just getting some bust-off, like, receiving catches, right? Receptions.
Yeah. It's mainly been in the receiving game because like his rushing numbers are bad.
Yeah, but I think this could be a good game for Najee. I really do. I think it's going to be a close game the entire time.
Right. Hey, that's fair. Are we going to start Dameon Pierce?
Nope. I'm out. Yeah, not against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's front is too good.
Right, I agree. So, all right, on the pass catchers, are we going to start Nico Collins and Tank Dell this week?
I'm fine with it.
I'm surprised you are going to start Tank Dell.
Dude, the targets are like, who are they going to throw to? That's the thing.
Insane. It's been insane.
I mean, Tank Dell, I don't think he's an otherworldly talent, and I think that next year, like Houston still has a first next year, right? Their first or the Browns first. Ooh, that's not great. But I think that they're going to load up on a premier wide receiver next year that they can pair with CJ Stroud. They're not going to be in the Marvin Harrison Jr. running next year, but I think that they're going to be trying to pair somebody. And that's where I don't think Tank Dell is ever going to be an otherworldly talent. But right now, they're scheming him open, and, they have no one else to go to. So he's just getting 1 million targets, and he's doing well with it. So, you got to play these guys while they're still being good. So him and Nico Collins are both playable. George Pickens, I think, is definitely playable. Calvin Austin.
I know Pickens is playable, but I don't feel good doing it. I think a lot of his plays, he's had big plays, but
they do much better when they target him, though. That's the thing. The problem is, okay, Pittsburgh's offense is inept. Like, they're very bad, but I have to give them some semblance of credit that they're not idiots, that they can see when they target George Pickens, good things happen. You know what I mean? Like, last week they did not target him, and the game was bad. Like, the offense was bad. So I think they're going to fix that. They're going to target George Pickens a little bit more this week, and I think he's playable. Calvin Austin is kind of interesting, but
would you rather start him
leagues.
or would you rather start him or like Reynolds for the Lions?
Reynolds.
Yeah, I would too.
He has a higher floor, but I think Austin has a higher ceiling.
That's very fair. Yep, I definitely hear that.
Pat Freiermuth is playable.
Yep, 100%. I mean, I would start him over like David Njoku.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean,
Cole Kmet, I'd start him over Cole Kmet.
Yep.
Hayden Hurst, all those guys. Dalton Schultz, unplayable right now, unfortunately.
100% agree.
All right, last game we're going to talk about here today. The Los Angeles Rams are going to the Indianapolis Colts. Colts are at home. It's going to be a dome game. This should be a good one. 1 o'clock. This will be a fun one, I think. The Rams have been playing very well. They're 1-2, but their 2 losses were against the Bengals and the Niners. Yeah, and they're all competitive, right? So Matt Stafford versus Anthony Richardson. I think if Richardson is out there, I think he will be. I think he'll be cleared from the concussion by then. I think both are startable for fantasy for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm more hesitant on Stafford. I mean, but he's played
Andy's
solid.
Secondary is very weak. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Stafford will be very good.
Well, if Anthony Richardson doesn't play, would you start Gardner Minshew?
He's kind of in the Desmond Ridder tier for me.
Yeah, that's kind of
like I don't really want to if I don't have to.
Yeah. I feel if you're in a pinch, yes, but
super flex if you're missing some guys, but otherwise no.
I agree.
Running back wise, Zach Moss, I think is playable.
Fire him up.
I think he's playable. 100%. Just play him until.
And with this news that came out today, which is Wednesday, I did hear some news that Jonathan Taylor does not want to play. Get traded. and he doesn't want to play for the Colts until he gets a new deal, stuff like that. So I'm playing.
They don't want to give it to
him. and they won't give it to him.
Yep. Jim Irsay's an idiot, dude. He's so dumb.
I firmly believe that. Yeah, I mean, he is, but that's beside the point. So with that, I'm playing Zach Moss even if Anthony Richardson plays because he's played really well.
He's been good. Yeah, he's been playable.
Yeah,
for sure. Kyron Williams, I think fire him up. He's the only guy on this roster right now.
Yes. And he's been playing so much lately. Like I mean, he played 100% of the snaps last week.
McVay did come out and say that they want to get another guy behind him to kind of spell him a little bit, but even still, he's going to be getting 75%. So fire him up. He's playable for sure. Receiver wise, Puka I think is still playable. It's so funny, dude. Like people are down on Puka because he had a down week last week. He had 12 fantasy points. Like he had seven catches or 5 catches for.
He was still really solid. Yeah.
5 catches for 75 yards, basically.
Agreed.
72, I think it was. Like he was fine. Like he's not going to be scoring 40 points a week. It's unsustainable, guys. No. Even Justin Jefferson doesn't do that. Like what are we talking about here? Tutu Atwell, I think is startable.
I was about to say I'm starting him up too.
Michael Pittman is startable.
Yep. Yeah.
Josh Downs.
I think he's
with Richardson.
With Richardson, no. If Gardner plays, yes.
Fair. That's how I kind of lean too. I think with Richardson, he's kind of playable too, but it would take some stones to play him. You know what I mean?
I'm kind of wait and see with Richardson.
Yeah. That's fair. No, that's definitely fair.
I mean, are we wanting to start any of these tight ends? I think Higbee's interesting only because
I'd rather die.
He has an Achilles injury.
Higbee?
That's what it said. That it was 2 hours ago, which it's
I didn't hear
late
that
in the evening on Wednesday. He was not present for the team's practice on Wednesday due to an Achilles injury.
Great, yeah, have fun starting him.
So with that, I'm not touching Tyler Higbee.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
But yeah, nobody on the Indy side. Kylan Granson is a little bit interesting, but I want to see it a little bit more
in much deep. I think he's someone to stash.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of watch him with Anthony Richardson. So.
Yep.
All right, that is the first half of week number 4 here. We're going to be back tomorrow with the second half. good slate of games this weekend. Unlike last weekend, it was kind of boring.
There's some stinkers in there.
Yeah, for sure. But that said, thank you guys for joining us here tonight. You can find us on Twitter, X Twitter, again at TDC_Calvin for myself, at Dynasty_Dale for my co-host here. Make sure you guys come back next week and check out the sports betting if that is when it drops. We will let you know. We'll talk about it a little bit here as well. But yeah, like I said, there's so many people out there that just give bad advice just to give advice, and it's just, you know, I don't like seeing people get scammed, essentially, and that's how it kind of feels. And that's why we decided we wanted to put out this podcast to just kind of give some realistic advice. We're going to have a sports betting 101 for beginners. Like if you have no idea about sports betting, but it interests you, but you're kind of scared, we're going to talk about and I'm not a sports bettor, so, you know, take this with a grain of salt, but basically breaking down like what units are, what the over-under is, you know, all those more generic terms. And then we're going to follow that up with an episode where we actually give some money lines, some betting lines, some how many units and things like that to bet on these games and these over-unders and all this stuff. So that'll be hopefully next week, like I said, but if not, we're going to be getting that up soon. So make sure you guys check that out if it interests you. Until then, though, thank you guys so much for joining us. Please, again, last time, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff on the podcast just helps us out, and we're growing like crazy. We appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, and have a good night.